ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So discombobulated this week.
Yes.
I hope I can put together sentences. And now all our listeners are saying, how will that be different from any other week?
Oh, boy. Well, welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'll try to make sense in everything I say today. And with me, also sharing that goal, I'm sure, are Nicole Erdix.
Yes, I am definitely trying to make sense of everything.
And Terry Morrow.
Yeah, not much chance of that.
And Amanda Morin.
I just don't know how to follow any of that. I just don't have any follow-up. I'm here.
Can I just say, Amanda, that I am very impressed that you have 2 suitcases packed for 2 trips that you have coming up.
Yes,
That
well,
I thought,
thank
she's
you.
got a lot of clothes.
She's organized, is what I thought.
I think I'm panicked. I think that's what you're seeing. So, yeah. So I'm going for a 4.5-day trip. I come home for like 3.5 days, and then I'm gone for another 3 days. Then I come home for like a week and a half, and I go. So I do have to do laundry before I pack for the next round. But
For the third one.
for the third one. And I probably do have to do laundry in between the first 2, because I just realized, either that or I have to go out and buy, like, all the underwear in the world, right? Like, because,
Right.
Yeah, I was trying to think whether I had like 2 complete sets of stuff that I could pack 2 suitcases at a time.
well, I have a lot of work clothes, like, I have a lot of work clothes that I don't wear when I'm hanging around the house, so they can get
Right.
packed. Because I can hang out in my sweats and my t-shirt at home, and the rest of it can go in a suitcase, and I can look professional and packed.
Yeah.
Because it's not in my closet, it's just in my suitcase instead.
It's 2 entirely different wardrobes.
Yes,
in
completely.
there.
Yes.
And when we were all in college, did we think that we would have the at-home wardrobe and the work wardrobe? And that sometimes they would be the same thing, and sometimes they would be totally different.
Did we think we would just wear jeans and t-shirts for the rest of our lives? If we were writers, we might have thought that.
Did we even think about that back then?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just spent a day in an office with a lot of people who look like they aren't out long from college, and there were many pretty summer dresses, and
Yes, and actually
all manner of casual attire.
that's what's in my suitcase, but I do not look like the people who just graduated from college.
Nothing more depressing for a woman of a certain age than to go into a office where many young creative workers are flitting about, and you just feel like, show me to my coffin, I shall stretch out in it.
And unless it's referring to yourself as a woman of a certain age, that's kind of depressing too.
Really depressing, too. Well, that's what I feel like.
Yeah.
They were all delightful, but oh my gosh, I'm old. But speaking of college, as we were briefly, that's our topic 1 for today. Is college something that every kid should go to? Should they all go right away? Should they all go to the absolutely most tippy-top school they can get into? Should they take a gap year? Is vocational school still something we should be thinking about? Some of us have kids who are past this point. Some have kids who are maybe approaching it or in it, and some have kids who are a little ways away. So we thought we would talk today about how we feel about college.
And one of us has all. All
Yes.
3 of us.
Yeah.
Catherine, you're the furthest away of us, I think, from this. Although Amanda's youngest is further. But Catherine, what are you thinking about college these days?
Well, I'm kind of thinking about it from the perspective, as you say, of someone who has a child a few years away. My older one will be a freshman in high school this year. And I hate the idea of making her high school years a horrible, stressful slog, just so she can get into what what everyone thinks is a good college. I'd just rather that she live a balanced and happy life. And if that means she doesn't go to a prestigious college, then who cares, and as I told my friends here, I graduated from an Ivy League school, and I just don't see that as necessary for my kid or for any kid, really. Yeah. I mean, I just don't think it will deeply affect the rest of her life and her career. So it just doesn't seem worth it to make her miserable. To push to that. And when really, if she doesn't, who knows if she would even want to go to that type of school. And if she did, then I would do whatever I needed to do to help her in terms of, let's research it and let's figure out if that's right for you. And if it is, then, here are the classes you'll probably need to take in high school and et cetera. But, she's not a real academic go-getter. I mean, she's smart and she does well in school, but she's not like passionate about a particular academic subject or anything. So I want her to do something that I want her to enjoy high school. I want her to get something out of it, obviously. And then I want her to do the type of post-secondary schooling that will point her in the way she wants to go. And I think it's so hard to even know that, at this age.
It's funny because my son will be a freshman in high school this coming year too, same age as Catherine, as your daughter. Mm-hmm. And like just looking over the course catalog for high school was just, if you want to take this track, if you want to go this way, I was just thinking, I don't want to plan 4 years of his life right now for the next 4 years of his life. It was so overwhelming. I don't know. I think about it from so many angles, though. And I think an Ivy League school, no offense, Catherine, I don't mean any offense by this, but I don't think it has the same cachet it did when we went to college. I don't think it means the same as it used to. It used to be like those Ivy Leagues meant something. I mean, I don't even do what
like
I went
to. Like a guarantee.
Like,
for the future. Yeah. Well, and also I think it was easier. I do think it was easier to get in back in the day. I mean, when I was in high school, my school offered one AP class.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And so you could take that and then be done, whereas now the school that my daughter will go to, I mean, there's probably 20 different AP classes.
So at the 8th grade graduation thing that my son's school just had, they have like a citizenship award or like, I don't exactly know what it's called, but I was listening to like the roll call of what this young lady who won it has already done, and I was thinking, I'm exhausted listening to it, and she's only 13. Like, I mean, oof, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and I just that's, I mean, if she enjoys it and she can juggle all of it, then more power to her. But I just don't see my child being able to do that, being able to have that huge long list of academic activities and athletic things and
it's such a balance
service and it's just a lot.
It's funny, and I think about this from so many angles because I do have kids of such different ages. My daughter's in college, and I wonder sometimes if she would have done better with a gap year just to get a better sense of what she wanted to do. But when I said to her, and I said to her completely seriously, do you want to go to college? And it wasn't like it wasn't a judgment statement, and she was so offended. Of course I want to go to college. And I think it's because it's like, well, of course, that's what people do, and I don't think it has to be that way. What sort of prompted this conversation, I had read this article in The Atlantic called, The War on Stupid People, which is a terrible title. But the whole point was, we're sort of edging out these technical jobs that, not... And I think that there's a place for that. My son... My son wants to go to Full Sail University to study video production, and that's all they do, right? They do the training specific for the job without all the humanities and the extra courses, and I think that's good for some kids. Not everybody needs to aim for the stars because there need to be people who don't aim for the stars because that's the, you know what I mean? Or whatever the stars are for them may be different. I think that's the piece that's missing in all of this conversation, not our conversation, but like the whole conversation is that not everybody's star is the same, and
Uh-huh.
that's okay. You know, like,
Yeah.
if you want to work in a trade, it's okay. It's okay to have a comfortable life doing something that pays the bills and makes you happy, even if it's not a, high college educated life. If it's a trade school, if it's a vocational school, whatever, there's a place
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a place for everybody. And,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I always felt like not everybody has to go to college. That was my thought. I had kids with learning issues, and I thought, you know what? They don't need to go to college. They can go to a vocational thing. They can get help finding a job, whatever makes them happy. But our school system is just completely everybody goes to college. It's
Yeah.
like a mandate. It's like the message the kids get every single day. And so when I suggested to my daughter that she might not want to go to college, she says, no, I have to go to college. I'm going to college. So, at some point while my kids were in school, they removed all the classes below college prep level.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I'm like,
Wow.
well, do you have a magic wand to go with that? That ding, everybody is suddenly able to go to college. And it was a problem from an inclusion point of view because there were kids in self-contained special ed who might have done very well in like a Math 9 class, which no longer existed. So, now we're having a bit of a problem in our town tax-wise because there's been a huge increase in kids wanting to go to the vocational high school that the county runs,
Yeah.
which our school district has to pay for. And I'm like, hey, law of unintended consequence, hello there. Because we took that out of our high school. We took the shop classes out. We took the home ec classes out. We took all of that out. There's still kids who want that. You can't just legislate everybody being college material or
And then-
everybody having college interest just because you feel like, hey, all our children are above average.
And then there's this financial piece of it too, where you can't just assume that everybody's going to be financially able to go to college. I mean, even state schools are expensive and courses are expensive, and it's not easy for everybody to afford it. It's just
No.
not. It's not affordable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that sounds like
you
such
hear
a downer. I don't mean it to sound like such a downer, but I'm just, it's true, right? Like it's one of those things that maybe that's
You hear
something we
about-
need to teach kids financial literacy, right? If they're going to go to college.
Yes. You hear about
Mhm.
kids struggling under such crushing college loans, and I'm like, a community college is pretty cheap. Do you really have to go to
Yeah.
Right.
big expensive college? Does everybody have to go to the big expensive college? We've got this mindset that everybody has to go to the tippy top college they're capable of getting into. And I mean, I went to a state school. Grew up in California, so I went to a University of California. We got a reduced rate. It seems like there's probably those opportunities still, but maybe they're discouraged. I don't know, Nicole, what's your experience been with this? Your son is in the middle of this right now, right?
I could do a whole 45-minute podcast on this topic.
Right.
I
Yep.
have so much to say, especially coming from another country where education is subsidized quite a bit by the government, and we're not paying the kind of money that you guys pay down here.
Yeah.
I think it's
Or that you pay down here now too.
Right.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
exactly, right. I think, first of all, you're right. There's so much emphasis here on what school you're going to, and it has to be a top tier school. And if it's not, then you're seen in a different light by many people. At least
Yeah.
maybe I'm in a bubble here in California. I don't know, but
No.
I don't
No,
think so.
no, I don't think so. No.
community colleges are not, the first choice. So I see all these kids who are aiming for these top tier colleges that are taking on student loans of like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they thinking about what their life is going to look like when they get out of college and have to start paying back those loans?
Yeah.
So that really bothers me, that whole mindset of having to go to a top tier college and pay that kind of money. And it bothers me that we think it's okay for kids to do that.
Yeah.
That spend that kind of money. I think it's just such an incredible burden on the child. And I think it's such a the money that's going out the door that could be put to better use. Because I don't think that, like the rest of you, I don't think that a top tier university is necessarily the answer for everybody. And I strongly am a huge supporter of technical schools that have programs that feed directly into jobs.
For what it's worth, I started at a top tier university and realized I couldn't afford it after a year. And I went home and graduated from State University. I've done okay, like my life is pretty okay without having made it through that top tier,
Yeah.
And I mean, my husband and I both went to community colleges for the first couple of years and got our basic credits out of the way, and then we transferred into, my husband went to a tech school, which was perfect for him because he's not an academic oriented, like write an essay kind of person. And I went into a university to get my teaching credential. So, that really worked well for us. And so when I hear people say down here, I hear them say, oh, college, you're not going to get the best job. And I think, well, I think we've done pretty well for ourselves with our little community college courses. So, and the other part of that too, and back to what Catherine was saying, is that the time and the effort and the lack of life experiences that these high school kids are not having because they're focused on all these AP classes and trying to get, all the volunteer that they can and the sports, and because there's that whole mentality of top tier school and what you need to do. And I mean, I'll give you like an idea. My daughter, who's a freshman right now, there are in her high school, it's a huge high school, but in her class, so her 9th grade class, there are 598 students.
Wow. So
my daughter has a 4.1 GPA.
Oof.
Her placement in that class of 598 students is 101.
Oh my gosh.
So 100 students have higher than a 4.1 GPA. What does that tell you?
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. That it's really, and we don't even think about the fact that it's okay to not go right to college, right? My husband didn't. My husband hasn't got his associate's degree after, quite a struggle to do it. He has some learning issues himself that he didn't learn about until he went to college. And he didn't get his bachelor's until like his mid-30s. He went back to school and got his bachelor's, and he was okay. Like, it was okay to do that. It was it was fine. You can do that. You can have like a life before you go to college too.
And the other interesting part of that is with my son when he graduated. I mean, he's your classic, like, let's have a good time and, we'll just study for the test 5 minutes before. But he has a great memory, so he could afford to do that. And he still did well and got a great GPA. He still got into UC school here in California. It wasn't UCLA and it wasn't Santa Barbara, but he got into a local UC school. And because that school is smaller and has a more diverse population, he got great scholarships. He would have never gotten those scholarships if he had gone to UCLA or Berkeley or, you know what I mean? Because the competition is so hard there.
Yeah.
So there's all this stuff that we learned along the way. And it's just, I feel for these kids here, really. I just don't think it's... Oh, and one more thing. They're all taking summer school. They're all in summer school. My daughter's been in summer school like for the last 3 weeks, getting up at 7:30, 6 every morning to be there for 7:30 class they have to have these courses.
And my son, who's not even a freshman yet, he's going around this summer doing videos to put his portfolio together. Yeah. He needs that, which, I mean, he's very good. He's very good. He's very talented. But I'm thinking, you're 14. He turned 14 yesterday. Like you don't need a whole portfolio now. But that's, I don't know. There's, I just
remember spending my summer working with a summer job and having fun, and
Sets
I went
them up.
to, I went to
it
summer
sets-
school in high school, but it was like to knock off unpleasant classes.
I was going
in-
to ask what that. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, no, these are to get ahead.
yeah.
Are we setting kids up to fail? That's our next question. I feel like a teaser for 60 Minutes. Are we setting kids up to fail? Oh my goodness.
Anyway, yeah, I'm so disturbed by the whole thing. And my daughter feels bad about herself. She's like, I got to get better grades. I'm like, you have a
Gosh.
4.1 GPA. Are you
I don't
kidding
even
me?
know how that's possible. I thought 4.0
AP
was. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
AP. Yeah,
Wow.
the AP pushes you up. So 100 kids in her class have higher than a 4.1.
Wow. Yeah, I know the weighting of grade points has been a big thing in our town with kids who are like really trying for the top colleges. They want extra, they want things weighted differently so that if you take more AP classes, you should get a higher one than people who if you get a B in an AP class, you should get a higher point average than somebody who gets an A in a college prep class, which
Oh, I
is
have
like
a lot
what,
to say
you know.
about that. Oh my gosh. I have
But it's so competitive, these grade points, I guess, matter. They make a difference as to what
They
school
sure
you get
do.
into.
Yeah,
they sure
or whether
do.
you're valedictorian or not, or, all of these things, which
That and
just
your
makes me
SAT
exhausted.
score.
which is a whole
Yeah.
conversation about how we define success, isn't it? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
I can't even. Maybe we should move on to other types of fails and success.
Yeah, while I'm on a rant.
Nicole!
Another stressful rite of passage.
Right.
Another extremely stressful rite of passage right after college.
Or not.
Wedding fails or not. If you are a person that got married in some form or another,
I'm
We,
trying to figure out how many forms there are, but never mind.
but yeah, that's our next topic because and I think it's also something that is very relevant right now to me because I just had an anniversary this past weekend.
Yay.
Wedding
So did
anniversary.
Terry.
Yes, so did
Yes.
Terry. Love the
Yes.
picture. And and I, honest to goodness, and this is so sad to say, and I hope that my husband never listens to this. But I think he already knows how I feel. I wish I could redo my wedding all over again.
Aw.
Oh,
It's so
It was-
cute, though, and so
Uh,
happy in your picture.
Oh my gosh. I loved the actual, the vows and the getting married part, but oh my goodness, the wedding day itself, right from the decorations to the food to the alcohol being stolen. I mean, it was just
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
it was
By
just a
who?
disaster. I think the bartenders pocketed
Really?
Oh my
it.
goodness.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can I just say, as somebody who has been married twice, I've had 2 weddings. It doesn't matter if you do it over. It does matter from the having the right person perspective, but not necessarily from the will things go right or wrong again perspective. So just if that makes you feel
Okay.
maybe a little better, I don't know.
I don't know. I just look back and I just cringe every single step of the way. It was-
Aw,
Aw.
that's sad.
So anyway, Terry, tell us about you.
I don't think I had any fails on my actual wedding day. My actual wedding day was great. Everybody had a good time. I think it went really extremely well. But holy cow is the process of planning a wedding, especially here in the East Coast. Where I grew up in California, you would get married at the church and then you would have a nice punch and cake in the church hall. People would give you actually wrapped gifts. And it was not, I never planned a wedding there, but it did not seem like a big thing. Here in New Jersey, in an Italian family, there is a whole superstructure involved from which level of family you have to invite as guests. You can't, if you invite one level, if you invite one cousin, you have to invite every cousin on that level. And so that was complicated. And then it has to be in a hall with a dinner and limos and dresses and all this stuff. And once you start making those decisions, I see how people get to be bridezillas because there's just so many decisions. And of course, your the guy is useless. It's all on your shoulders. And so things that are ridiculous become incredibly important. Am I going to get the hors d'oeuvres, or am I going to get this? Should I have a pay bar, or should I have a free bar? Should I have which main dishes am I going to have? What color should the tuxedos be? What kind of dress do you want? It's just, I promised my bridal party that I would get dresses that they could wear again. And then I just got off on a Laura Ashley kick, and my sister-in-law was kind enough to make these dresses for me. And we wound up with the big flowers and puffy sleeves and, big skirts. And I don't know what happened to me, but it's this thing that just takes over your life, and you are sitting at your job for 3 hours talking to people on the phone about your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, if I had it to do over again, I'm thinking of Catherine and I just watched that the episode of Parks and Recreation in which a couple decided to get married, went immediately to the 4th floor of the City Hall building, got a license, got married by some guy who was walking down the hall. The bride held a bunch of colorful highlighters in her hands, and it was done. And it's like, you know what? There's an appeal to that.
Okay, so I will tell you, that is the benefit of, that was one of the benefits of having a second wedding. When it was much simpler. We got to do it the way we wanted. We planned it ourselves. It was low key. We had one fail that was just crazy. Went to pick up my cake. Oh my gosh, you guys. I have never been a bridezilla. I'm a pretty chill person. Went to pick up the cake the day before the wedding because it was like we were setting everything up ourselves. We got married on New Year's Eve, so we had sort of like a winter wonderland thing going on. And it was Barbie pink. Barbie pink. Not like white with little rose pink highlights. Barbie pink. This was not the color I chose. Absolutely, you could have had the dream house next to it and you would have been like, oh, look, I lost it. I've never lost it like that before. I think my face was the same color as the cake. And they were like, well, we don't have anybody here to fix it, and I had John, my husband was on the cell, and I think he may have reconsidered marrying me at that moment because he'd never heard me that upset. I was freaking out in the bakery, what do you mean you don't have somebody to fix it? I am not getting married with a Barbie pink cake. I said, you can just go get a Barbie and stick it in the top and give it to some little girl for her birthday. I just absolutely lost it. They ended up calling in their baker to redo it overnight to bake a new cake and do it the way it was supposed to be. It was, and it was so funny because I was so calm up until then. Everything was fine. We had it the way we wanted. We did it low key. My husband was raised Catholic. I was raised Jewish. We got married by a Unitarian Universalist minister. I mean, we did all of the compromising stuff. Yes. And then this cake was the thing that threw me completely over the edge. And you're right, Terry. It's that's how people become bridezillas. It's that thing. Yeah. And then you're listening to yourself and you're watching yourself freak out. You're like, yes, I don't even want to marry me. I wouldn't marry me right now.
You're thinking it's just a cake, but this stuff just becomes
it's so stressful,
incredibly important. Okay. Yeah, because it's all, and the expense of it is something else. Yeah. It's like all my savings, everything I had saved up in my 20s, the entire time I had been working, went to pay for this wedding. And we had a fairly modest wedding. We weren't at the top tier catering hall. It's just everything costs so much money. Yeah. And then that adds to the craziness of it because, oh my gosh, if I am spending this much, it has to be perfect. Every detail has to be exactly the way I wanted it. Or I've spent all the money I've ever made in my life on nothing.
And the fact is after the fact, it's like your wedding goes so fast, right? It's so fast. Yes. You don't remember those little things that don't go quite right, Yeah, and I think it's I just want to say to my kids, remember that the wedding is one day and you have to have a whole marriage after it. Do more planning for the marriage than you do for the wedding.
Yeah.
So, my goodness.
Well, speaking of Barbies, I'll just share one quick tidbit about my wedding that I absolutely cringe when I think about. So for whatever reason in Australia, I don't know if it exists today. I highly doubt it. But back in the day when my mom got married, she's Australian, it was tradition to buy a Barbie and dress the Barbie up exactly like the bride. It gets better. And then place it on the hood of the car
Oh my.
that is carrying the bride to the church. So my mother decided that this was a tradition that I was going to carry on. And she created 2 Barbies. One that looked like the bride that went on the bride's car, and one that looked like the bridesmaid that went on the bridesmaid's car. The problem was that we lived about a half an hour from the church. And it was a windy day.
Barbie looked a little rough by the end.
Barbie was looking a little windblown at the end of the trip. Half her outfit came off. Oh, it was, and the fact that I was like an adult driving around in a car instead of Barbie glued to the hood.
So now, like, all I can think is the Australian shrimp on the Barbie thing that everybody says. That's
my.
Falling. I'm mortified. See, I'm cringing just thinking about it. We haven't got to Catherine yet. Catherine, tell us
Yes,
something.
tell us your wedding fails, Catherine.
Well, my wedding itself went, I would say, pretty well. There was one thing where, well, first of all, I painstakingly, made all these seating arrangements and
Yes,
matched
seating arrangements.
matched up all of the food, that the people had pre-ordered to the seating chart, and then somehow that never got to the caterers, so they had to just start all over. And
Oh, no.
and I'm pretty and I said, this one dish, there's too much sauce, like it's just drenched in sauce, so can we cut back? And so they served it without any sauce at all, so it was just like
No.
this dry piece of meat with nothing. But that wasn't as bad as the wedding I went to, where there was a buffet dinner,
Uh-huh.
and they ran out of food.
Oh
Like,
my
when it
gosh.
was my table gets up to go to the buffet, there's nothing left.
No.
And-
No.
And we weren't like the last one. I mean, there were people, we didn't get any dinner. And when the mother of the bride, went to the caterers, were like, there's no food. Like, what? They said, well, your guests ate too much.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
So
gosh.
luckily this was in Georgia, and they did like a wedding breakfast. Like they had the dinner, then they had dancing, then at 11 o'clock at night or something, they brought out like biscuits and gravy and bacon and stuff.
Oh gosh.
So that was our dinner.
Did they reverse the order of the tables? And the people
Well,
who didn't
just,
get any
like-
dinner go first?
We just pushed our way to the front with that one because we were
Oh,
starving.
gosh.
I
how
was just,
awful.
I'm like picturing an angry wedding mob,
I'm starving. Come on.
Oh my
This is the point
gosh.
at which you send a groomsman out to the nearest
Like,
fast
please
food place
get-
and just
Yeah.
get like 200 hamburgers and bring them back.
Right.
Could I have 1,400 chicken nuggets, please?
Some
Money is
buckets
no
of
object.
chicken.
yeah, buckets.
Oh my gosh.
Barrels of chicken is what we need. Oh, man.
Okay.
Well, those are definitely not some of our favorite things that have ever happened. But this week we are going to be introducing a new segment of some of our favorite things we've seen during the week. This is usually the point at the podcast where we would have an interview with somebody, but instead we are bringing you this new segment, which we will be doing every week, which we are going to call our Roundabout Roundup. So we're going to just find things parenting related, or home related that have delighted us during the week or amused us or we found useful that we think you should take a look at. So I will start. I read this thing from time to time called the Barnes & Noble has this thing that you can get on your phone that readouts, I think it's called. And one of the things they have is a serial read where over the course of a month you can read an entire book for free. You get a chapter a day, something along those lines. So I particularly am interested in that when they're having romance novels, just because, we all need a little something in our lives. I read a lot of very serious things. It's nice to just sometimes sit back with a romance novel and read about people whose problems are all going to be solved by the end of the book. So this month they had one called On a Night Like This by Barbara Freethy. I have never read her before. But I started reading and, okay, so we have a hunky firefighter with a secret. Yeah, check. And, we have his, the girl who used to have a crush on him and they had some incident in their youth that they don't talk about even in the interior monologues. And she's come back to town to deal with her shutdown father and they run into each other over a fire. And, okay, well, that's checking that. And then, we meet the hunk's family, including his sister, who has a son with autism, and then there's a brother who's and wait, there's a kid with autism in a romance novel. These are my two worlds colliding. On the one hand, I can't just take that storyline and I'm thinking, they're doing the noble suffering mother who just wants to communicate with her boy plot. And that's going to get old fast. And I'm thinking, is there, I should look online to see if some autism self-advocate has roasted this fire-themed book.
No.
I did not see anything. So because I can tell it's not going to be necessarily the current viewpoint on how one should deal with autism. But at the same time, there's kids with autism in romance novels now. We've reached a stage of normality that this is something that can be in a frothy beach read. And that sort of makes me feel good. From what I see of this author, there is actually one in this series of romances about this family that actually involves the family of the kid with autism. So who's, not surprisingly, because that's the storyline we always get, the parents have split up because of the stress of raising the kid and all of that. Yeah. It's not exactly the way we would like it to be, but still, I'm adding that to the roundup this week, that little bits of real life, as I know it, popping up in mainstream stories. So I shout out to Barbara Freethy. Thank you for including my kind.
My kind.
My special needs obsessed kind. Amanda, what have you found to add to our roundup this week?
I saw a video, and it sort of goes with our first topic of kids in college and stuff, on this site called it's Attention, but it's ATTN : so it's like attention to. It's a video on learning, whether kids are learning life skills or not, and I mean it's sort of serious, but it was also really funny because there are clips in there from TV shows and stuff. There's this piece where there's an interview and it's clear this college kid who didn't dress for the interview or anything, right? and the guy says, do you have any dependents? And she says, I have lots of independents. So it cracked me. It was both very entertaining and very informational to me. I loved it. It made me laugh, and you know what? That is something my kind needs as well. Is a little laugh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Catherine, what are you adding to our roundup this week?
I used to read the blog Young House Love, which is a home design and renovation blog. And they pretty much stopped blogging maybe a year and a half ago, and they just do a post maybe once a month or less now. But they have started a podcast. It's a married couple, and their blog had documented their renovations of now 3 homes. They're in their 3rd house now, and they just are fun and funny to listen to, even if you're not in the middle of working on your house, which basically I'm not, because even though my bathroom is still not done, it's not something I am doing myself by any stretch of the imagination.
You can work on your house vicariously by listening to this and then not actually have to do it yourself.
Right. So they have a podcast, and it's just 30 minutes or less, and they talk about products they've found or little tips that they share. They talk with other designers and decorators, and they always do some funny little quizzes and games. So it's a fun little
neat.
half-hour podcast.
Very
I've
cool.
enjoyed.
I listened to one where they were paint names named after places in New York City, and you had to
Yes.
guess whether that was really a paint name or whether it was made up and what color it might be.
Oh, very
Very
cool.
fun.
They do paint colors every time.
Yeah.
So it's
The,
like paint colors around a theme, like furry animals or places in New York, or I can't remember anymore. But yeah, it's been fun.
That is
I think the Try It You Like It podcast has done something similar with nail polish.
I was just
So-
going to say nail polish would be the thing that I would do that with. That's funny.
Nicole, what do you have to round up for us?
Well, I'm always on the lookout for something technical that can make my life easier, especially if it's an app.
Yeah.
And so I was searching on the web for a few things, and parents.com had, from Parents Magazine, had an article called Parents Best of the Web Awards. And it has like this huge list of apps, for problem solving, for
Nice.
Cool.
being healthy, for saving money, exploring your neighborhood, celebrations. It's very cool. It's like quite a big list. So I'm excited to look through some of that.
Nice.
Some of them are apps, some of them are sites. So
Very cool.
yeah, kind of
And
like
we
a
can
handy.
fantasize for a moment that they will revolutionize our lives, and then we will
Yeah.
try them for 5 minutes. But
Exactly.
the
And then
hope.
delete them.
That's
Hope
that's
is
a
what keeps us going, right?
that's
Yeah,
very
the hope,
that's
the
very
eternal.
meta. The parenting roundabout roundup.
Yes. And now we're going to move from shouting out other people's things to shouting out our own things, our weekly shameless self-promotion segment, where we direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. I will go first, and I have a recently updated story on Very Well, which is games that you can play with your kids while you're walking or hiking, so you don't get like, oh, are we there yet? Like, why do we have to go on this hike? So it's games you can play to try to avert that. So check that out on Very Well. Terry, what do you have today?
I want to mention that amongst the very, very many places you can find our Parenting Roundabout podcast, we have now just added YouTube. Our podcast provider Libsyn has added that possibility. You just automatically send it there. So you will not see our happy faces talking. You will just see our logo. But supposedly you can listen to it on YouTube if that is your thing. So hopefully by the time this podcast drops, I will have found out where it puts it on YouTube and we'll have a link to provide. But otherwise, poke around. You can also find a couple of playlists we made up a while back, which should be fun.
Very cool.
And how about you, Nicole?
Well, I'm just encouraging people this week to go back and look at my website. I haven't written anything new recently because, quite frankly,
You wrote a book.
I'm kind of overwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting geared up to edit that book, actually. I'm going
Oof.
to start getting some pages back. So, yeah, just check out theinclusiveclass.com and enjoy.
And Amanda, what do you have for us
I
today?
have it's like a multi-part thing. I wrote a blog post about the new documentary called Being You, and it's called Helping Your Child Say Yes to Life's Journey. Being You is a documentary that Understood.org and Road Trip Nation worked on together. It was 4 young adults took an RV across the nation to talk to successful people with learning and attention issues. They talked to like Howie Mandel and had a lot of fun. And so I wrote this blog post about it, and there's an accompanying parents discussion guide. So if you want to watch the documentary with your child, and then you can sort of talk about like your own stories and things like that. It's a really fun thing to do.
Shoot.
Oh,
Wow.
I hear our music.
Sorry about that.
Wow, I was
looked
gonna
over
say.
on YouTube to see if I could find our podcast, and I did. I thought I turned the volume down. Anyway, sorry
So,
about that. Never mind. It is on YouTube.
So maybe it's a good time to say that's it for this week. So I was wondering if Terry was playing me out like on the awards shows there. That is it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout, as we hear. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download from iTunes. And please do subscribe so you get all our podcasts and mini podcasts. I am very sad to say that I'm no longer able to participate weekly because of my schedule and other projects. But please keep following me on Twitter, and I will be on Speed Rounds, and you will hear me as interviewing and so forth. I'm not going away completely, but I won't be as present. But do follow me on Twitter, where I'm at Amanda Morin. Follow Terry at Mamatude, Nicole at Nicole Eridix. She has a new Twitter account. And Catherine at About Family Fit. And you can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat. Look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram, and now YouTube too. And best of all,
on YouTube, just to warn you.
as we heard. Best of all, stop by our blog at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, all the things we shouted out, talk back in the comments, and thanks to John Morin. Thank you, honey, for producing the podcast and providing our in and out music, and we wish everyone a great week.